Good morning, I'm Bree Driscoll, and here's your Spectrum News in 90. Testimony could wrap today in former President Donald Trump's criminal hush money trial. Yesterday, Trump's former fixer Michael Cohen admitting to stealing from Trump's organization as the prosecution rested its case. And the defense called its first and possibly sole witness to the stand, only for him to spar with the judge. Former Arizona Republican Party Chair Kelly Ward, former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani, and at least 10 others are set to be arraigned today on charges stemming from efforts to overturn the Arizona results of the 2020 presidential election.
Let me be clear. We reject the ICC's application for arrest warrants against Israeli leaders. Whatever these warrants may imply, there is no equivalence between Israel and Hamas.
President Biden issuing a forceful rebuke to the international criminal at a Jewish American Heritage Month event. Biden slammed the ICC's application for arrest warrants against Israeli leaders. The application also calls for warrants to arrest Hamas leaders. Milwaukee's Christian Yelich stealing home last night, but the Brewers couldn't steal a win against the Miami Marlins. They dropped the series opener 3-2. Those are your headlines. Now here's a look at your weather on the ones.
I'm meteorologist Julie Marquez. Warm weather for the East Coast. Temperatures will be well above normal, even near some highs. Then we have a cold front right here in the central part of the country. Look at this cool air in Casper, Wyoming, 46 degrees. But an area of low pressure and a front here with thunderstorms breaking out in the central U.S. and a risk of severe weather for day through tonight. I'll be back in a couple of minutes with more on the risk of severe storms.
Thanks so much for joining us here on Spectrum News. I'm Bree Driscoll. Today is Tuesday, May 21st. Our top story, the prosecution resting its case in former President Donald Trump's criminal hush money trial. Now, all eyes are on Trump's defense team after calling its first and possibly sole witness to the stand yesterday. Today, the former president's lawyers seem likely to rest their defense. Spectrum's Ayanna Harry has followed the case from the courtroom and breaks down where the trial stands.
This trial is a disaster for our country. It's a disaster for New York State, New York City.
In The People of New York versus Donald Trump, Monday, Trump's defense team began presenting its case, and lawyer Robert Costello was called as a witness. Just last week, Costello testified about this very case in front of the House Judiciary Committee, calling Michael Cohen a habitual 2018 raid of Michael Cohen's home and office. Cohen considered hiring Robert Costello as his attorney. Costello said at the time Cohen repeatedly told him Donald Trump was not involved in the hush money payment to Stormy Daniels. On the witness stand, Costello was often defiant, even rolling his eyes and making comments under his breath. The judge scolded Costello just before clearing the courtroom.
The highly political judge, a totally conflicted judge, who just did something that nobody's ever seen.
Earlier Monday, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office rested its case. Over 4 weeks, prosecutors brought the jury into Trump's world just before the 2016 election, showing evidence of how and why an adult film star was paid for her silence, telling the jury Donald Trump was part of a scheme to cover up that hush money payment.
The bookkeeper put it down as a legal expense. This is why I'm here, because we called it a legal expense.
In the case against Trump, prosecutors brought in Trump Organization executives, former White House aides, adult film star Stormy Daniels, and their final witness, former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen. Legal analyst Terry Austin was in court as defense attorney Todd Blanche grilled Cohen on cross-examination.
And I think Blanche wanted the jury to think this is Cohen's revenge. This entire episode is all about Cohen getting revenge because he didn't get the job he wanted, he didn't get paid what he wanted.
Cohen admitted Monday to stealing $30,000 from the Trump Organization by overbilling the company. And when it came to the payment at the heart of this case, prosecutor Susan Hoffinger asked Cohen, "You have paid Stormy Daniels the $130,000 had Mr. Trump not signed off?" "No, ma'am," Cohen replied. "Why not?" Hoffinger asked. Cohen's response, "Because I wanted to ensure that I get my funds back."
This is a witch hunt. This is a witch hunt.
At the end of the day, Trump's attorneys asked the judge to dismiss the charges, saying prosecutors failed to make a case against him and Michael Cohen is unreliable. The judge said he will issue a decision at a later date. Ayanna Harry, Spectrum News.
Former Arizona Republican Party Chair Kelly Ward, former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani, and at least 10 others are set to be arraigned today on charges stemming from efforts to overturn the Arizona results of the 2020 presidential election. Arizona authorities unveiled the felony charges last month against the Republicans who submitted a document to Congress falsely declaring Trump had won Arizona in 2020. The defendants include 5 lawyers connected to the former president and 2 former Trump aides. Last week, attorney John Eastman was the first defendant in the case to be arraigned, pleading not guilty to the charges. Trump himself was not charged in the Arizona case, but was referred to as an unindicted co-conspirator. In Washington, President Joe Biden and congressional leaders are united in their opposition to steps being taken by the International Criminal Court. The ICC's chief prosecutor is seeking arrest warrants for Israeli and Hamas leaders, including Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Spectrum's national reporter Angie Gonzalez joins us now. Angie, what is the Israeli Prime Minister saying about the move?
Well, Netanyahu called it a moral outrage of historic proportions. As of now, though, this is just an application for warrants, and it's going to be up to a 3-judge panel whether or not to issue them. And that decision could actually take around 2 months. Now, the charges on both sides stem from the Israel-Hamas war. The State Department says the ICC doesn't have the jurisdiction to issue the warrants, and neither for Hamas or for Netanyahu and his defense minister, Yoav Gallant. Now, here's what President Biden had to say.
Let me be clear. Contrary to allegations against Israel made by the International Court of Justice, what's happening is not genocide. We reject that.
Now, Biden made those remarks during an event at the White House celebrating Jewish American Heritage Month. There was applause during his remarks, as you heard there, but globally, countries like France and Belgium, and they're not alone, they've come out in support of the ICC requests for those warrants. Bree?
And Angie, what, if any, actions are U.S. lawmakers considering in response to the ICC's warrant applications?
So there are a number of Republicans, even some Democrats, who would say that they would like to see President Biden implement some sort of sanctions against the ICC. House Speaker Mike Johnson is among them. His team is saying that they're exploring all options when it comes to putting a bill on the floor sometime this week to do this. House Republican Conference Leader Elise Stefanik and Congressman Chip Roy of Texas, they also introduced a bill when it was first sort of revealed in recent weeks that the ICC might take this action. That legislation would sanction and revoke the visas of individuals who are involved in this ICC investigation. Bree?
All right, Angie Gonzalez, thank you very much, Angie. Coming up in our political buzz, we break down the fundraising numbers in the 2024 presidential election.
Here's the deal. In this election year, people need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum, we know how much you depend on the reliability of our products and services. Now, we've taken a new step forward in reliability by identifying potential service issues before they become a problem. If you're affected, we'll contact you and help schedule a free service appointment with one of our expert technicians. The proactive maintenance of our network is one of the many reasons Spectrum delivers the most reliable internet speeds in the nation. Spectrum, keeping you connected.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home, an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I found hope in the midst of an overwhelming situation.
Alcoholism is a disease that can affect any family. Everyone suffers, but there is help and hope at Al-Anon Family Groups.
Al-Anon gave me my life back. I'm a better father and husband.
Are you in an overwhelming situation because of someone else's drinking? Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Local and virtual meetings are available. Maybe one could work for you. Call 1-866-200-0033 or visit alanon.org/hope.
Hi, I'm meteorologist Julie Marquez, and we have a risk of severe thunderstorms continuing today for the central part of the country. Rain will be eventually moving into the northeast, with the chances increasing for Wednesday night and Thursday. And we have above normal temperatures in the eastern U.S. More on that in just a moment. But first, the risk of severe weather today. It's ongoing in places like Iowa, but we have a risk stretching from Texas all the way up to Minnesota, Wisconsin, and into Michigan. The areas from Milwaukee to Chicago down to Springfield, Kansas City. You need to watch for damaging wind and large hail and the threat of tornadoes too. And we have the risk of severe weather here covering a lot of Iowa. It's a level 4 out of 5 risk. So this is one of those days you want to make sure that you are paying close attention to the weather. If a warning is issued, you need to know where to go immediately so you can take shelter. Tomorrow, we have the risk from Dallas-Fort Worth up through Little Rock, covering parts of Ohio and also Kentucky. And this goes all the way up into New York State with a slight risk of severe thunderstorms tomorrow. Watch the low pressure in the frontal boundary. In addition to the severe weather risk, very heavy rain could lead to flooding. Minneapolis, parts of Iowa are under a flash flood warning this morning. And watch these storms continue to work their way toward Madison, Milwaukee, Rockford, and Chicago. St. Louis with the stormy conditions too. And these areas of rain and thunderstorms will spread eastward into Wednesday. We'll take a look at the sky today. Milwaukee 69 degrees. Foggy start to the day, rain tonight. Chicago's up to 90, but your chance of severe storms increases by this evening. A lot of rain, flash flooding, and strong to severe storms in Des Moines at 82 degrees. Indianapolis 89, and Kansas City thunderstorms in 87. Look at our highs today in the 80s. Albany 89 degrees today. Your average high is 72. We're going to have a front moving eastward, so it will get cooler in Green Bay and Minneapolis, but continue with mild weather in the northeast tonight.
Well, if you're just joining us or heading out the door, here's a look at what you need to know. Testimony could wrap today in former President Donald Trump's criminal hush money trial. Yesterday, the prosecution rested its case, and the defense called first and possibly sole witness to the stand, only for him to spar the judge. Former Arizona Republican Party Chair Kelly Ward, former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani, and 10 others are set to be arraigned today on charges stemming from efforts to overturn the Arizona results of the 2020 presidential election. And President Joe Biden issuing a forceful rebuke to the International Criminal Court, slamming the ICC's application for arrest warrants against top Israeli officials. The application also calls for the warrants to arrest Hamas leaders. That's a look at what you need to know this morning. It's time now for our political buzz. Jason Fechner joins us now. Jason, let's talk fundraising for the presidential election. Former President Trump outpaced President Biden when it comes to fundraising for the first time in April, but Biden still has more cash on hand. What can we take away from looking at these fundraising numbers?
Bree, good morning. Let's run through the numbers. $51 million for Biden and the Democrats, $76 million in April alone for Trump and the Republicans. I'm a pretty positive person overall, but there are some red flags and warning signs here for both of their campaigns. First off, for Biden, those fundraising totals down month to month. When it comes to polls, especially in battleground states, he hasn't necessarily been able to overtake Trump so far. For Trump and the Republicans, though, he's spending a lot of money on court proceedings, and he's down overall when it comes to cash on hand. Biden has $192 million in the bank right now, Trump at $88 million. So he's tightening that gap, but there's still a long ways to go. Nice problems to have in politics. You and I would be just fine if we're pulling in tens of millions of dollars a year. Again, this entire presidential campaign expected to cost roughly $6 to $8 billion overall.
Wow. All right. Now, Biden has 2 campaign events today while former President Trump is in court today. We have really seen how Trump's ability to travel to campaign and fundraise has been limited with having to be in court most days. Yet financials show he is raising lots of money. Do you see a correlation here? Is being in court actually helping him?
Well, when we look back at his April totals, the majority of those fundraising dollars for Trump have been on some high dollar events out there and then constantly fundraising off the hush money trial and the other criminal proceedings against him, kind of especially over email, lobbing grievance after grievance about the process and raising money off of it. Now, to that end, and to get to your question there, Trump has been able to travel a little bit out there and he has been campaigning, going to rallies, et cetera. But in all of his off time, he's not out there on the trail. And that's possibly a sign that he's raising enough money through these email solicitations and online because of the trial itself. And he doesn't feel the need to be out there every day, that he's actually able to do so.
All right, Jason, thank you very much.
Have a great day.
Ascension hospitals across the country are dealing with the aftermath of last week's cyber attack. Spectrum's Abby Taylor shares how employees are handling the disruption.
Over a week has passed since Ascension hospitals were hit with a cyber attack. I spoke with the registered nurse bargaining unit president at Ascension St. Francis Hospital, and she says while it's been hectic, their main priority is their patients. For the past 3 years, Tracy Schwertfeger has worked as an emergency room nurse at Ascension St. Francis Hospital. She's even the registered nurse bargaining unit president.
It's just something that I really like because I like interaction with patients. I actually really like the pace of the ER. I like being busy. And I really like being able to work with my fellow nurses and all the providers that we have at St. Francis. I think our staff is really special at our hospital.
She says her fellow healthcare workers have stepped up this past week after Ascension hospitals were hit with a cyber attack.
I've been really able to keep a positive attitude because all of our members, again, are so hardworking. Everyone's doing the best they can. We're still providing the high quality care that we always have, working in healthcare.
Ascension says that the cyber attack is impacting electronic health records, MyChart, some phone lines, and various systems tied to medical procedures and medications. This has led to some obstacles for those providing care.
Because our charting system is down, some of the challenges have been when a patient comes in through the ER, we're not able to look at medical history, allergies, stuff like that, which can affect our ability to make decisions quickly.
She says the wait times for certain services like labs or imaging is taking much longer than before.
And I think that a lot of patients have been really, they've been really understanding, but then on the other hand, some folks are getting frustrated with the length of time that it's taking, which is completely understandable, and we don't blame patients for that because I think this is a bad situation for everyone.
She's hoping Ascension provides more insight and transparency with employees moving forward.
Things are changing frequently, so there's been a lot of effort from supervisors and clinical nurse leaders to give us the support we need, but again, from the CEO and the upper administration, it's just our union feels like our members have been kind of failed in this situation.
In the meantime, she'll continue encouraging the rest of the union and fellow employees to do their best treating patients while adapting to their new normal after a cyber attack. In Milwaukee, Abby Taylor, Spectrum News.
Coming up on Spectrum News, America's oldest antique show and the man who's been showcasing his love for the circus there for over 35 years.
Spectrum News Plus. News from a new perspective, dedicated to refreshing storytelling and empowering communities across the nation. With balanced reporting, providing real context and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day.
Here's a look at your forecast across the country.
Local stories, connecting communities. We are Spectrum News Plus. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
I'm meteorologist Julie Marquez, and we have some drier weather continuing in parts of the southwest and a lot of Florida after the front came through, drying out for today. But heavy rain will lead to flooding concerns in Minnesota, in Wisconsin, southward into Iowa and parts of Illinois, and then more showers and storms will break out in Arkansas, Kentucky, and Tennessee by tonight. As we look ahead, we can see that rain eventually moving into the northeast, so Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, parts of New York, and into New Jersey. The chances of rain will be increasing, so enjoy the warm but drier day today in New York City. The thunderstorms are increasing in Dallas-Fort Worth tonight. Look at the stormy weather coming across Missouri all the way through parts of the Midwest and the Great Lakes. So looking at several rounds of heavy rain and thunderstorms impacting that part of the country. Tomorrow you can see all these thunderstorms continuing to break out along that frontal boundary. Now for today, I'm expecting New York City to have a nice but warm day at 83 degrees. Boston, you're in the 80s today and then lows in the 50s tonight. Well, Washington, D.C. and Atlanta also experiencing highs in the 80s with mostly sunny to partly sunny skies. Miami near 90 degrees today with a chance of scattered showers and thunderstorms in South Florida. Rain continues in Seattle, 55 degrees today. San Francisco, you have a sunny day with a high of 73. Denver, a chance of rain, 62 with a low tonight of 41 degrees. Las Vegas at 86. And LA getting close to 70 degrees. You can see that warmth with above normal temperatures in Columbus, Ohio, all the way to Buffalo, even parts of Maine in the 70s for today, near some record highs here. Meanwhile, it's very hot in parts of Texas, places like San Antonio, the temperature 97 degrees this afternoon, but with the high humidity, it's going to feel more like 105. That's the expected heat index. So you want to make sure if you work outside, you're going to be outside for an extended period of time, you're taking frequent breaks in air conditioning or shade. Make sure you're staying well hydrated. The cold front slicing through the country, so behind it, it is certainly a lot cooler with lows tonight in parts of Montana and the Dakotas in the 40s, in parts of Wyoming like Casper at 36 degrees. Meanwhile, it will stay warm across Texas to parts of the Carolinas, Washington, D.C., and into parts of New Jersey and New York. Low temperatures in the 60s, with Wednesday even getting warmer in some spots. Washington, D.C. will be close to 90 degrees, parts of Maine in the mid 80s, Dallas at 90 degrees, Florida 80s to 90s.
Well, Target is cutting back its prices on thousands of items. The retail giant announcing Monday it's reducing prices on up to 5,000 household and food items. Now, it's all in an effort to get more shoppers in stores amid soaring inflation. Right now, the prices of about 1,500 products have been lowered, with more expected to follow this summer. Former Boston Red Sox pitcher Austin Maddox has been arrested in Florida as part of an underage sexting operation. Maddox was one of 27 arrested in a multi-agency operation late last month, accused of soliciting sex over the internet from people who they believe were children. An attorney representing Maddox said he intends to fight the allegations if formal charges are filed. The Milwaukee Brewers' Christian Yelich stole the show with the play of the day last night in the team's game against the Miami Marlins. Yelich stealing second and then onto third after an errant throw, and only a few pitches later brought it all the way home. Sadly for the Brewers, it wasn't enough for a win. Marlins taking the game by 3 runs to 2. The oldest antique show in the country, traveling to one town in Massachusetts. Our Richard Damas introduces us to a vendor who has a special focus.
Cue the circus music, because the show is in town this week for the Brimfield Antique Flea Market.
Every year, I never miss the circus. Every year, matter of fact, I still go. I still go every year, once a year.
New York resident Roy Aletti has been coming to America's oldest antique show for over 35 years, sharing his love of performing arts he's had since he was a child.
I've got a passion for the circus because I auditioned for Clown College in 1976. I got narrowed down to 10, but of the 10, they only took 2, so I didn't get picked for Clown College, but my passion for the circus went on.
That passion also included antique collecting.
I like anything fun, music-wise, cartoons, comedians, anything that'll put a smile on your face. As a matter of fact, most people, when they walk by, at least they do smile when they come by my booth. They may not buy something, but they smile anyway. We give them a smile.
Aletti does have one item, though, that may bring back some familiar sounds.
Oh, that was a 1926 Wurlitzer carousel. I'm sorry, band organ. 1926 Wurlitzer band organ. That's some people call it a merry-go-round, but it's a carousel organ. When you were a kid and you rode the carousel, one of those machines would be playing.
Aletti says the circus is one of the earliest forms of entertainment in the country, and he gets just as much joy from seeing people experience its history.
Oh, I love it, and I love to see people seeing it for the first time who are not familiar with it, and introducing them to it. Maybe, introducing them to a new collector or something, or a new passion, joining a new club.
In Brimfield, Richard Damas, Spectrum News.
Hopefully he has a big tent for all those antiques. And you can always stay connected with us here at Spectrum News by getting your national and local headlines on the go. Just download the free Spectrum News app. It's available in the App Store and on Google Play. I'm Bree Driscoll. Thanks so much for watching. Your Spectrum News in 90 is coming up right after this short break. Stay with us.
The 2024 election will decide who leads our nation and the balance of power in Congress, impacting all of us. From Capitol Hill to the Oval Office, let Spectrum News be your resource for balanced, in-depth coverage with our dedicated experts in local politics. Strengthening democracy by informing your community. That's our mission. Available on all of your favorite devices, exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum, our workforce of over 100,000 employees are all located right here in the U.S. You can find them in our stores, in the field, and in our call centers with 100% U.S.-based customer service. Our team works hard to provide the towns, cities, and neighborhoods they live in with the reliable services that everyone counts on, making us one of America's most trusted companies. We're Spectrum, creating jobs and opportunities across the country, and proud to be 100% U.S.-based.
When I never graduated from high school, I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed to come back to school. I felt accomplished, made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
My mother was always very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual, and she didn't know whether she should go forward or turn, and she wasn't even really sure where she was at. It was very unsettling for her.
I felt so much better after my son told me, "Mom, I don't want you to worry or be afraid. I'll be there for you and figure it out."